God is good. In Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, each day is getting closer and closer to us putting our hands on the keyboard, logging in, and playing this wonderful game. In the meantime, we're going to be discussing on this channel many different assets of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen up until its release. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you enjoy Pantheon related content, as that's what we do here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the subscription model that Pantheon Rise of the Fallen will be using, and the benefits of using a subscription model versus buy-to-play or free-to-play models. First, I just want to say that when using a subscription-based model, the players do not have to worry about constantly being nagged or bothered while trying to play their game, while the developers are trying to push monetized items. So when you're in the middle of playing your game, more and more it's going to be popping up information, commercials, advertisements, and adverts referring you to the shop to buy something. Okay, that can get very annoying as a player. That's number one, is just simply being able to enjoy the game and know that you are supporting that game with your monthly investment into the game. Secondly, I want to talk about how when a developer has a cash shop because they're free to play, we all understand that developers have to make the money to keep the game running, and to continue developing for the game they need income. The most popular at the time of this recording of models for MMORPGs is definitely the free to play model, because they can get lots of players in with no price tag and begin monetizing them based off of items in the cash shop. The problem with that model is that the game has to be developed around making money. The developers have to make a living. Therefore, everything in the game is going to be based around that. That creates a second problem, which is that the game will not have new content or new things to do, new raids, expansions, etc. as quickly, because this will not be the developer's main focus. In a free-to-play cash shop only type game, a developer needs to continue making content for the cash shop, enticing new things. They're going to be researching what do the players want, what would make the players spend money, and they're going to be constantly developing content for the cash shop. New armors, new mounts, plots of land, whatever the case may be for their particular game that would get people to spend money. That hurts the game, because now you're just waiting for what can I spend my money on next. Not to say those games do not get expansions, of course they do. They get extra content patches and things like that, but they're at a much slower pace, because that is not how the developers make their money. Now when you have a subscription based model, the goal for the developers is simply to keep you playing, to keep you in that monthly investment so they can continue their income. This causes developers to act very differently. Then the developers begin to make content to keep you in the game, to keep you entertained, to push you and your character further. Also, a lot of times with a free-to-play model, these are based off of successful other campaigns, Facebook and mobile games, etc. And you probably know this already, but there are much of that market that are downright shady and wrong, the way that they push you into the cash shop or into wanting to spend money. They will literally limit the game and what you are able to access or what you're able to do. They'll put you in situations where others who are paying are getting advantages, simply to get you into paying as well, so that you get those same benefits. In other words, there are obstacles put in your path that basically limit you. By spending money, you can remove that barrier and continue playing with convenience. The other issue that is huge right now is that this leads to a luck-based system. In other words, loot boxes and things like that, because that's a natural addiction that you're going to want to keep opening them in hopes of getting something awesome and something different. That's a very huge way for developers to make money, to get you to spend $1 to $5 to $10 on a loot box, hoping with more money you spend on each tier that you have a higher percentage of chance of getting a purple drop or an epic or whatever the case may be. There's also the fact of immersion. How immersion breaking is it when an ad pops up on your screen inviting you to the cash shop to try out the new item that they put up? That's very immersion breaking. It's also very immersion breaking to be in the world, exploring the game, grouping up, doing whatever it is you like to do, and constantly all around you be seeing items, even if they're customization items or consumables or whatever is available in that particular game of the cash shop, and to see other people using them and taking advantage of them and knowing exactly where they came from, not in the world or in the game. That causes immersion, but instead knowing that these items came from the cash shop. When you pay a monthly subscription fee, you know that your $15 a month is actually going to help the developers continue making content for the game. With those games, it's almost hands down a fact that they receive more updates, more patches, more expansions, because that's how the developer is making their money. That's how their career is set, and how they are able to maintain and keep the game running, by keeping you on that monthly subscription. So that is obviously, if we're going to look for what's best for the player, it would definitely be a subscription-based game. Now this time, we do not actually know what the monthly fee will be for Pantheon. It's very assumed it will be $14.95 or $14.99 or $15 a month, because that's just kind of the average in games. It could be more, it could be less, we'll just have to see. The thing that we do know though is that it is going to be subscription based, and I'm very happy with that, because with that model, I know the Visionary Realms is going to be focused on making new content and incentives in game to keep me playing. As long as they can keep this content coming at a reasonable pace, then us players will feel like our $15 is actually paying for something we want, something we need, which is content, quality of life, updates, patches, more lore, new dungeons to explore, whatever the case may be. And on that note, it doesn't have to be content like dungeons or new zones. They can save all that for expansions if they want to, especially because Pantheon is a persistent world. So in a persistent world, it's much easier to do a subscription-based model and keep your players happy. Now, if this was a straight, normal theme park, go from point A to Z on a linear path exactly as a developer intended for you to go, it's much harder to do subscription. It's done though. You have games like Final Fantasy XIV that are doing very well with this model, and they have an A to Z type system. But they put out a lot of patches, a lot of new material, at least about every 3 to 4 months. They've got basically a mini expansion out with new dungeons, raids, story, everything. So that's hard to do, and you've got to keep in mind that Final Fantasy XIV is developed by Square Enix, so Square Enix has a large pocket. They can reach deep into their coffers and do what they need to do, and that works for them. But with Pantheon Rise of the Fallen being a smaller developer, a smaller team, it is better that they have a persistent world in which there is plenty to explore and do, and all they have to do is continue making content, either A, on an end game type scale, raids, etc., tweaking and perfecting the actual game itself, getting rid of glitches and adding quality of life improvements, and maintaining that the game is still fun. Now there's many paths, and I'm not going to try to guess how their development will go. We'll be able to judge that once the game is out, more patches in, or even maybe not until the first expansion we really kind of get a feel for how they do their style of monthly updates. So we don't need to get into that to specifically talk about what the advantages are to the subscription-based model. Another thing I'd like to bring up is transparency. With subscription-based models, you typically, not always, but in the case of Pantheon, I can be quite certain that you'll be purchasing the game, then you begin your monthly fee. This is an upfront cost to play. In other words, you know exactly what it costs to play this game. You don't have to wonder, this month am I going to have to spend $100 in the cash shop so that I can enjoy the game for longer. You don't have to worry about what kind of things as I'm leveling up am I going to need to spend money on. You don't have to worry about should I go with the subscription model in a free-to-play game just to get the monthly benefits, because everyone playing the game is paying the monthly fee and getting the same benefits that you're getting, which is access to the game. Now sometimes games do a trial, which allows you to play the game for a specific amount of time or up into a certain level just to get new people in the game to try it out and get addicted, basically. We do not know for sure if Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is going to have a trial. I think over time they will. I doubt they will at first. Maybe they will. It's kind of smart to go either way at the very beginning of the game being new. We just simply do not know that. I believe typically from a business point of view that doing a trial is best done at the beginning of the game being fresh and new if you do it from referral. In other words, someone who owns the game is able to refer people, their friends, family, whatever, into the game to try the game with them for a specific amount of time or to a specific level. But we'll just have to see what Pantheon does with that. The trials are important too, because in most cases in free-to-play games, you're really just playing a trial until you spend money. That's what the game really is. A lot of times you can't even possibly level up to max in free-to-play games without spending money. You just hit a wall that makes it very obvious and so difficult to continue that you have to spend money. This makes a player feel cheated or wronged or duped even. This doesn't give you a good feeling inside when you hit the point where you realize now you have to reach into your back pocket, pull out your credit card and spend some money. When you pay it up front, it feels normal. This is what you do. You're playing the game, you're enjoying it, you have a subscription, you bought the game, etc. Therefore, that doesn't feel like you've been wronged. Purchasing an item for your enjoyment is normal. That's how our entire monetary system works, so you don't feel wronged or duped or ripped off at any point, as long as you're getting the content that you feel like you paid for. Hopefully with Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, we actually see it succeed with the subscription-based model, and I'm going to tell you why. As we all know, many games start out with the subscription-based model and end up going into free-to-play because the player base continues to drop, and in a last-ditch effort to save their game and to get more players in and to make the income needed to sustain the game, they go free-to-play, throw in a cash shop, and away we go. This isn't the only detriment to the MMORPG genre at the moment, but it is a huge part of it. The reason being is developers, of course, when they're developing the game, they're making it to be popular. They think that they can make it in the market. They think that this is a viable option for players to have in the MMORPG genre, and they build their game around the subscription-based model in most cases. And what happens is they have to inject a free-to-play model into a game that wasn't meant to be that way from the beginning development standpoint. It was a subscription-based game. What happens is that the game itself suffers, and so do the players suffer with it, because now the game now is having to add limitations to it and things like that, which basically just break the game. Let's also talk about when you have a free-to-play game, the problem with gold sellers, okay? Problem is that gold sellers are going to come because they can get into the game for free too, okay? Not to say they're not gold sellers in subscription-based models, and certainly are, but there's a price to get in, so it is a lot less of an option for a gold seller to get to really devote themselves to the game, because they're going to have to spend money to get to purchase the game, and then a monthly fee. And to be honest, they get caught a lot. developers are constantly banning gold sellers, obviously because it will ruin the economy of the game and ruin the experience for their player base. But the problem is, with a free-to-play game, you ban that account, they come right back with a new account, right? And it's just a vicious cycle. It continues and continues and continues. With the subscription-based model, each and every time they're banned, they're going to have to repurchase the game, make a new account, and then start paying their monthly fee again. That is a much higher investment, especially for the large gold-selling companies that basically are losing hundreds of accounts a month, and then they sometimes even thousands, and they have to continue. That's a large investment to try to get back a return on. So the gold selling issue is much less prevalent in a game that is subscription based, and that's just a fact. Now, I do understand that some people, and I have friends, and we discussed this before, that feel like with a subscription-based game, they kind of feel trapped into that game because they're spending money every month. Therefore, they have to go all or nothing into the game, okay? Because they feel like with their investment, they only have time to play this one game, and they've got their subscription on it, and therefore, they don't even want to spend any time doing anything else, and that kind of ruins the mood for them. I would say that this is more of a mind thing, because here's the deal. A typical gamer buys at least one game a month, okay? The typical hardcore or gamer in general is going to buy a new game every month. Usually more, okay? Usually a couple of few games a month they're excited about or that are in the genre or a game they're interested in. When you have an MMORPG, a good one, that's actually taking up the majority of your time, you spend less money because you're not out chasing every game that comes out. As a matter of fact, sometimes with a really good MMORPG, used to happen to me all the time in some of the older school MMOs, you will actually feel a little bit of guilt because there'll be games you know you would normally go out and get and buy because you enjoy it or that type of game, etc. And you will actually have a little bit of guilt because you know that you don't have time to play that. With everything going on in your MMORPG, the need for that particular game is beginning to diminish because you enjoy the MMORPG so much you don't want to leave it for even a weekend or a couple of weeks so that you can enjoy this other game. So you will feel a little bit of guilt. The good news is you're saving a lot of money because you're only focused on this one game and you're playing it so much and getting so much value out of this one game that you in the long run you're saving money. You're actually devoting so much time into this game that you're not buying all these multiple other games to keep you busy. This one game is keeping you busy. Now let's talk a little bit about the cash shops themselves, okay? Because let's be honest, in a form, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is going to have a cash shop too. Now, I'll get more on that in a minute, but let me explain before you begin coming at me with torches and pitchforks. What I mean by that is, in any MMORPG, in my opinion, and I can't think of one off the top of my head that doesn't do this, you have to have at least some kind of cash shop because there's conveniences that players will need that, to be honest, because of the load on the server, etc., are needed to have some sort of additional fee. Things like character transfers to other servers, or to be able to change your race. Now, I don't know if that will be in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen or not. It very well may not be, but definitely being able to transfer your character is something people are going to need to play with their friends, etc. So that is technically a cash shop, okay? Because you have to spend additional money above the purchase of entry with the game itself, the monthly fee, and then now you're having to spend money to transfer your character, alright? So it technically is a cash shop. I think it's very natural, I'll go on to say, for a company to add a few cosmetic type things in their cash shop, even if it is a subscription game. We see it with all of them. We see it with World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV. All these games that are subscription based still have some items in their cash shop, okay? At this time, Visionary Realms is saying they don't want to do that. That's not the path they want to take. However, it creeps in. I could see within a couple of years, 2-3 years after launch, that there will be a few items in the cash shop that will be cosmetic, but will be there specifically if for no other good reason than to make a little bit of extra money. To be honest, guys, that's what the developers are trying to do. The more money they make, the more people that they can hire on their team, the quicker they can get content out to us, which will make for a better game. And that's going to be their goal all the time. So anything they can do to do it is okay, as long as it doesn't ruin the in-game experience. And thankfully, we have a team of people who are devoted at Visionary Realms to creating the best in-game experience every time you sit down at your desk and put your fingers on the keyboard. Okay, so I'm not concerned that it will run amok. I will only be concerned when the day comes, if the day comes, and hopefully it won't, that we see Pantheon Rise of the Fallen turn to a free-to-play model. Now, there are benefits to the free-to-play model, I'd like to go ahead and say as well. Okay, the free-to-play model does mean that a friend or relative or someone you know, basically, it's easier to get them to try the game out, okay? Because it's free. Just say, hey man, just go download it and we'll, start it earlier today and we'll be playing by tonight. We'll play together and we'll see if you like it, okay? So, here's the way you have to look at it though. The game isn't free, okay? Nothing is free. The game takes a lot of development, especially a persistent world, so you can't really have a free game like that. I mean, they have to make money. This costs money to develop and continue supporting the game, etc. This takes a lot of employees. They all need to pay. They all need to pay their bills. They need to take care of their families. So what you're really looking at, I really need you to understand the free-to-play model is really just a try before you buy. It's just a trial. You're getting to try the game for free, okay? They are going to force you into a corner where you're going to have to spend money. They have to in order to survive. Now, the other thing is that, of course, as a company, I know I run a small business. You have to increase revenue. You have to be continuously getting bigger. If you're not continuously making more profit, more money, then you're failing. You're either going up or you're going down. Either the ship is sailing great and the ship is getting bigger and getting more people on board, or the ship is sinking. It's only one of those two in business. And the problem with a free-to-play model, as I said earlier, but I just really want to concentrate it down, is that they need to be getting bigger. So they need more money to be spent. So they're constantly, that's their focus, is to constantly try to figure out a way for you to spend more money. If their average, and trust me, they run numbers like this, if their average is $4 a month per person playing the game is the average that they're making, that's not enough, alright? Obviously, they went from a subscription base to a free-to-play model to make more money, okay? Sure, there's more people, so spreading that $4 out, you'd think is still more because there's more people playing since now it's free-to-play, right? But the problem is that they're going to want to increase that. That's not enough, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to try to figure out how can we get the average player spending amount from $4 to $16 or $15, okay? Because they want to make that same amount of money. The free-to-play model is just to get people in, to get them addicted, and then they're going to try to figure out a way to make more money off of them. So they will jump from whatever the average may be. We're going to say $4 per person playing the game. They're going to try to expand that and try to get 15 to 16 or 20. If they get there, they're going to try to go for 25. It's just never going to stop. Why? Because the ship's either selling and more people on board, or the ship's sinking. Okay, the problem also with free-to-play is, obviously, we're not even going to get into talking about pay-to-win, okay? That's obviously not good and not what the player base is going to want, and it's not going to be good for your game if you get that reputation. So what they have to do is they have to go on conveniences or cosmetic items, and we hear that all the time, right? Every MMO that's going free to play, oh, it's just going to be cosmetic. It's just going to be cosmetic because we don't want to ruin the experience for the gamers. So what does that mean? Cosmetic means it's a visual bragging right? It's armor that looks really cool, it's a mount that looks really cool, etc. Now if you make that mount faster than the mounts that are in the game that you don't have to spend real money on, well, now you're pay to win, right? If that fancy armor actually provides really good stats with it, oh, well, guess what? Now you're pay to win. So they have to find that balance. So what they typically do is it just looks really cool. It doesn't do anything special. It's not even actually anything special. It just looks cool to give you bragging rights in the game. Here's the problem. We all know where it came from. So as you're walking around sporting this cool armor or looking awesome, or you're all shiny and glowing and we can see you from 20 miles away, that doesn't impress anybody because we know where you got it. We know you just spent money. So the bragging right just goes away. And then you've got the whole situation of the noobs or the people, just bought the game today. They look just as cool as the vets who've been playing the game since beta. That just ruins everything about how an economy in an MMORPG should work. In a true economy MMORPG, you're striving towards goals. You're trying to get that cool armor, try to get that cool mount, whatever it may be for your game. But when you can get this just by spending $15 in the cash shop, it breaks the economy down. It's no longer even something you can really brag about. Now it's just, wow, you spent some money. You didn't take an investment of time, or you didn't have to wait for that rare drop or anything like that. You just went to the cash shop and you bought it. It literally destroys everything that makes MMORPGs great. Here's the other problem. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into free-to-play makes developers behave differently. So in a free-to-play model, it's a lot of things that the developer has to do. From coming up with new items to make you want to spend money, to promotions to get you into the game in order to spend more money, or once you're in the game to get you into the cash shop. Codes, account differences, membership privileges, all of these things take up the developer's time. And developers only have a certain amount of resources available. They have more resources available the larger they are and the more money that they make. And of course their goal is to get bigger. Therefore, as you can see, this creates a vicious cycle. Let's talk about the community. In a free-to-play game, that means everybody who wants to just jump in that game and mess with you can. There's no cost of interest, there's no dedication needed. They can just simply download the game, get on, and be annoying and ruin everything. And unfortunately, there are plenty of trolls in the world. If you don't believe me, just start a YouTube channel and talk about absolutely anything you want to talk about, and you will find the trolls. They will come for you. They also will find home in a free-to-play game very quickly, very easily, and they will make the community garbage. So basically, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. The point of this video is just to point out to you that there are benefits, and we should all be very proud that Visionary Realms is going to a subscription-based model. Many of the other MMORPGs coming out probably around the same time, most of those aren't going with this model, okay? They're going with what's more popular, and they're looking around and they're seeing all this money being made across the Facebook, mobile games, and other free-to-play MMORPGs, and they're slobbering at the mouth and they're ready to cash in, right? And at least I will say, if it's built from the ground up to be free-to-play, that's much better. But thankfully, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is going back to old school, where you just pay your monthly subscription, you get your updates, you get your quality of life improvements, and you just play the game. Just enjoy the game. You don't have to constantly be thinking about how much money you should be spending. You don't have to feel guilty that you're not in the cash shop buying this or that, or that other people have an advantage over you because they're spending more money. You don't have to worry about that. Everyone's on the same level playing field, and we're enjoying the game together. And that, to me, is what makes the subscription model the best model for MMORPGs. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not a member or haven't subscribed to the community here at the Nathan the Napalm, I'd really like to encourage you do so. All we're going to do is continue talking about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. There will be other games. I'm going to talk about other games, especially while I'm waiting for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen to come out. Of course, I'm playing other games, I'm doing other things, and there'll be more of that on my channel. Especially here coming up will be Shenmue. I love that game, loved it for a long time. We're getting the HD re-release of the game here soon, and I'm going to be playing it, and I'm going to be talking about it as well. But my main focus on this channel is Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. I want this to be a Pantheon Rise of the Fallen channel, and I'd love for you to join us. Alright, well anyway guys, I hope you have a great week. We have, at the time of this recording, we have a lot of streams coming up. I'm looking forward to those so much, and the information we can glean from those is going to be fantastic to be able to pull information from that and see what new things we can learn. I think this is going to be a big month for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen fans. I'm also cannot wait to bring you guys the caster classes when they do the reveal for that, which I believe will be very soon. In the meantime guys, God bless and happy gaming.